Hey, what's up, guys? This is John from TheUndercoverBrony, and I have a very special interview with you today. One of the finest animators with Source Filmmaker, Argodaemon. How are you today, good sir?
Doing pretty well. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm excited to get this interview started.
Sweet.
All right, so the first question I have for you is, what is your Brony story? How did you get into the fandom?
Ugh. Um, wow, that's been years now. I don't even remember how long ago anymore. Um, I originally started by browsing meme base. Sadly enough, there's the My Little Brony board. I just got addicted to the memes on there, and I just watched those for like a month. But then I just stopped. Went away from the fandom for like 6 months, so I wasn't even in the fandom at that point. But then, like in January of I think 2012, I just started getting more into the show, found local meetups, and just started like hanging out with people. That's where it really took off from there. And I got into the animation thing right around the same time because this community makes such great stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I wanted to contribute more than just looking at stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to actually make stuff too. So since I can't draw and I can't make music, I thought the next best thing was to like move around some 3D horses.
Mm-hmm. So it was less of trying a one and done sort of thing with your Brony story. It's more of just kind of gradual bringing yourself into the fandom.
Yeah, yeah, because and it wasn't even to me the show was one thing, but it was the people I met. Like when I went because very early on the local like Minnesota Brony group was pretty big, and going there and interacting with people, that's I think what got me more into it more than the show.
Mm-hmm.
Early on it was more focused on the show, but even right now I'm way more focused on the group and the community than I'm in on the show.
Absolutely. I mean, the show's still really good, but the fandom is what's keeping it so alive.
Hmm.
So, next question I have for you is: are there any scripts that you use inside Source Filmmaker to either make things work a little bit easier for you or anything like that?
Um, kind of like there's console commands that you can use within the program, but there are some like scripts and other little bits you can add in that'll like simplify it. So instead of having a type of a hand, you can just drop down menu instead. There used to be a bit that would do like full physics simulations,
Mm-hmm.
but that had an update on SFM that broke it, and it hasn't been fixed since the group stopped working on it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Otherwise, there's some for like just making some things easier or adding in some extra functionality. But there's nothing really that I would say that is added in that would do like an overhaul to the software for improvement. It's usually just simplifying your life.
Mm-hmm. So just little tweaks here and there instead of a giant overhaul.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Next question I have for you is: outside of Source Filmmaker, what other programs do you use when you're creating your own videos?
When it comes to the 3D side of stuff, it's almost all Source Filmmaker, but there's like texture editing that might be needed within it because like changing the color of a pony or a cutie mark or just making things a different hue. Like I use Photoshop for that. I have the whole Adobe suite. I use Photoshop for photo editing. Any of the color correction and final editing of the video, I use Adobe After Effects. I don't use Premiere because I export in 4K image sequences, and Premiere is not good with 4K image sequences.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that I used to use a program called Speed Grade for color correction, but that's kind of been it's no longer really used anymore. I think they incorporated a lot of that into After Effects now.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, use Audacity for audio. There's some other little small programs like VTF Edit, which does editing of texture files for Source Engine. Um, Notepad++. It sounds simple, but I love that program.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Besides that, a lot of it's just the generic programs that come with Windows. Snagit. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you ever heard of that. That's a
I
great
have not.
program. It's a
Sounds
replacement.
interesting.
It's a replacement for Snippet.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, or the program comes with Windows. It allows you to like cut and pieces off your screen for like
Mm-hmm.
screen caps, but it's way smarter. That's a pretty good program too.
Hmm. Yeah, I have something similar on my own computer that's called Radeon Relive, where you can record both video and audio on your computer screen.
Oh, nice.
So I do that for some of the Let's Plays that I do on my personal channel.
Yeah, for like recording my screen and stuff, like video wise, I use OBS or Open Broadcaster.
Mm-hmm.
That for all the streams and stuff, that works really well. I've been using it for years.
Mm-hmm. Now you said that Adobe Premiere isn't really well. That doesn't work really well with trying to export 4K. What do you use to export the 4K files?
Well, the reason I don't use Premiere is Premiere uses doesn't like build up a preview for it. So when you hit play, it just runs it direct from the file. 4K image sequences are huge because
Mm-hmm.
playing 30 4K images every second.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't time the audio well and it kind of lags a little bit. But After Effects does a RAM preview, so it'll take longer to do the initial preview, but it builds up like a false video file then,
Mm-hmm.
and for allowing the preview to be much better quality and easier to run. So I'll use After Effects for almost everything
Mm-hmm.
for that reason.
I know Sony Vegas has something similar where you can do a preview render before you can do your actual render as well.
Hmm.
Um, so, do you? Next question is: do you have a favorite or least favorite animation that you have done, and do you want to explain those?
A favorite and least favorite?
Yes.
Um, Favorite's tough because it depends on what you're looking at for favorite. Um, I'd probably say Leaving the Stable, which I made years ago,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of the ones since then have been either to an audio to I have it's just music, so I can just do whatever I want there, or it's been to replicating something scene by scene. So I just about it's about converting one thing to another.
Mm-hmm.
But for Leaving the Stable, it was taking all the voicing, figuring out what camera work would work with the audio. It felt more like trying to make a movie than just a YouTube video, and
Mm-hmm.
I really liked doing that, and I learned a lot from making that one. Um, in terms of ones that are least liked, I mean, if you want, like the first ones I made, I guess, because I
Mm-hmm.
haven't, uh, because of just how long ago they were, I feel like I've improved a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been some since then. It's just like, how did that get popular, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I like everything I've made, and I've always strived to improve, and so it's hard to say when that old ones are I don't like because of that. They're just a
Mm-hmm.
stepping stone.
Well, I mean, if you really look at YouTube in general, it's really interesting to see that a lot of videos that have a lot of work put into them, they seem to not get all the attention. And then you have those videos that are just a quick grab on your phone and they blow up and become viral. So, I mean,
Yep.
anything can happen.
Something that's fun, simple, and rewatchable tends to
Mm-hmm.
be the big things because you can if you have 100,000 stubs and you're looking to get 10 million views, it's probably all not 10 million unique. You got to find something that's rewatchable, something that somebody can play and then a month later can hit play again, or they
Mm-hmm.
want to share with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's why a lot of the hot things at the time are the best ones for that. But I just make my own thing.
Yeah, I think one of my favorites in terms of like lower quality is now it's a very raunchy video, but it's called Twilight's Arctic Adventure, and it is honestly one of the funniest videos you will ever see. If you're interested in just random My Little Pony skits, it is just absolutely hysterical.
Like Cartoon Horse Program was another
Mm-hmm.
one like that, where the animation quality was what we consider poor, like in terms of being realism, but that's not what mattered with it. It was well written, it was funny, the voicing was funny, everything else was great about it, and the poor animation quality is what improved upon that.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. Next question I have for you is: do you have any tips or tricks you can give to inspiring animators for a source filmmaker?
Um, Start slow. Um, Patience is a big thing because it took me well over a year before I actually would be considered comfortable in the software. So I wouldn't don't try to think that you're going to be making a Steven Spielberg film in like the first 6 months. It's definitely a long process. So uh, take baby steps, do pictures to learn the software, learn the interface, and then when you feel comfortable, start pushing it up a notch and see what you can actually do with the software. Half the battle is just learning what to click and when to click it.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things I remember you saying at Winnie City PonyCon is that you always like to present yourself with challenges inside the program that you want to be able to kind of problem solve and see what works and what doesn't within the program and what you can
Hmm.
do to bypass those.
Yeah, that's the funnest part about it because SFM has a lot of limitations. It definitely has some pros with simplicity and library size and a lot of other things, but the but then it does run into challenges of because you have the simplicity, how do you make the things look good from like a Blender or a 3ds Max or Maya standpoint? And
Hmm.
you're never going to be able to hit that point, but you can usually find ways to abuse the system a little bit or go and utilize use one thing that's meant for one thing and use it in another and get a result that is pretty close. It's a lot more work, but I feel it's worth it for the simplicity that you get as well.
Absolutely. So the last question I have for you is, do you have any shout outs you would like to give?
Shout outs?
Yes.
Oh, um, that's a hard one. If anything, really to the Minnesota Bronies, because if it wasn't for them, I probably actually would have quit a lot of this a long time ago.
Hmm.
But the group's been like a mainstay with meetups once or twice a month. Lots of the friends that I made from there for the emotional support and the going to conventions are fun, but it's going there and hanging out with friends that you've known before, getting to see them. That's probably one of the most fun to me. So. Um, Going and running panels and talking to people that's all great, but it only makes up a small part of it, and so I don't know if I'd be where I was or be as far along as I have been if it wasn't for a lot of the support structure from like the Minnesota Bronies and the friends I've made in that group.
Excellent. That's awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on for this interview. It was a lot of fun to do. And anything else you would like to say before we end off?
Um, well, I know people have been constantly saying that the fandom is dying, but I'm wholly against that, in that the fandom I think is thriving, and the show in the end shouldn't be what keeps everybody together. And I hope that people remember that when if the show starts going down, that the community holds strong through it. So.
Absolutely. I definitely feel that the fact that there is a fandom surrounding this, and I mean, there's fandoms for, like, let's say Firefly, that they've been going on for years and years after
Hmm.
the show itself ended. So being able to have a community that will still thrive after a show has ended is definitely a very good thing.
This is the choice of the community, not the choice of the show.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on. And that's it from me, John, and that is Argodaemon. And we will talk to you guys later. Peace out, Dragon.